All right, let's get right into it. You know the type, right? The slick presentation, the super confident pitch. We've all been there. But what happens when the stakes are really, really high? Like, say you're choosing a critical piece of software for your company. How do you actually separate the real experts from, well, the professional showmen? That's what we're going to break down today. How to spot that superficial consulting and go for the real substance that gets the job done.
Now, listen to this quote. It's from a genuine expert who was brought in to help with a huge software evaluation. And well, what they saw was so bad, it led to that statement. It really sets the stage for a story that is, frankly, a little shocking, but also super insightful. It's a perfect example of what happens when style just completely steamrolls substance.
Okay, so let's get into the story itself. Picture this, a big financial firm. They need to get new anti-money laundering software. We're talking AML software. This is a massive decision, right? Get it wrong and you're looking at huge regulatory headaches. So what do? They hire a well-known management consulting firm to help them pick the right vendor. So the lead consultant walks in and right away, he's talking up his credentials, his many years of management consulting experience. He probably shows off this amazing slide deck. I mean, his confidence, it was through the roof. But the real question is, what was actually in that supposedly amazing deck? Well, it was pretty. Lots of visual flair, colorful maps, super glossy charts. But the gap between how it looked and what it actually said, it was huge. It was all smoke and mirrors. The scores they gave the vendors were totally subjective, basically just gut feelings, no data, no real criteria. And get this, the part about AI, probably the most complex piece of the puzzle, was boiled down to a simple check mark. Does it have AI? Yes or no. That was it. Seriously. And here's where it really truly falls apart. The most critical questions, they just weren't asked. Things like, how do these AI models actually work? Or how are you handling our customer data? Or how does this thing actually comply with regulations? None of it. All those absolutely crucial details were just swept under the rug, hidden behind a bunch of pretty pictures. So this whole alarming story, it's not just some weird one-off thing. It is a perfect case study. It gives us a crystal clear set of red flags to look for, right? It's our guide to spotting those imposters who are way more interested in their presentation than in actually, solving the problem. And this chart, it just nails the core difference. You've got the bad consultant on one side, all showmanship, all jargon, creating this illusion of insight. And then on the other side, you've got the good consultant. They're all about digging in, using data, being transparent, and actually solving the real problem. It's simple. One sells you a story, the other delivers a solution. So let's just recap the 4 big red flags this story gives us. First, you've got the over-the-top flashy visuals that are there to impress you, not inform you. Second, those subjective scores, ratings that are basically just pulled out of thin air. Third, that classic checkbox approach, boiling down something incredibly complex, like AI, to a simple yes or no. And finally, number 4, leaning on experience instead of actual expertise. I mean, just because you've been a consultant for 20 years doesn't mean you know the first thing about AML software. So does any of this sound familiar? Just think about it for a second. Have you ever sat in a meeting and just had that feeling that you're being sold this gorgeous, shiny box, but you're pretty sure there's nothing inside? Yeah, it happens way more than any of us would like to admit. All right, so we've talked a lot about what goes wrong. Let's flip the script. What does a real, proper, expert-led assessment actually look like? What were all the things that were missing from that consultant's flashy pitch? Well, first off, a real expert starts with alignment. They want to know your specific business needs, your risk profile. Then they dive deep into capability. They're not just reading the sales brochure, they're scrutinizing how the software actually works. And this is huge for any modern tool. They demand validation, especially for AI. Are the models transparent? Are they biased? Can a regulator actually come in and audit this thing? These are the questions they ask. But the deep dive isn't over yet. A proper assessment also has to cover compliance. Is this software going to meet today's regulations and the ones coming down the pike? And finally, you gotta do your due diligence on the vendor themselves. Are they a stable company? What do their other clients say about them? I mean, think about it. Picking a small vendor who might go out of business next year could cost you a fortune. And honestly, this right here is the perfect litmus test. It's so simple. A superficial consultant asks, "Do you have AI?" and checks a box. A true expert asks,
Okay, how does your platform use AI to reduce my false positives? You see the difference? It's moving from a simple what question to the much more important how and why questions.
Okay, so we know what good looks like and we know what bad looks like. How do you actually make sure you hire the right person to help you make these huge decisions? Let's walk through a super practical guide. Here's a pretty straightforward 5-step process for vetting a consultant. Step 1, verify their expertise. Do they have a real track record in your specific field? Step 2, assess their tech sophistication. Do they actually understand the technology? 3, confirm they get the business context. Do they understand your world, your regulations? 4, and this is a big one, ensure their integrity. Are they truly objective, or are they getting a kickback from a vendor? And finally, step 5, look for a collaborator, not a dictator. You want a partner, not someone who just drops a report on your desk and disappears.
Now, why is getting this right so incredibly important? Well, take a look at this number, 65%. What on earth could that represent?
Well, according to Gartner, a whopping 65% of failed outsourcing relationships come down to one thing: poor vendor selection. And think about it. If the consultant helping you choose that vendor isn't actually qualified, your entire project is built on a shaky foundation right from the start. The cost of getting this wrong is just massive.
And really, this is the bottom line. You can outsource the work, sure, but you can never, ever outsource the risk or the responsibility. When a regulator shows up at your door because that new software system failed, they're not going to talk to the consultant. That responsibility lands squarely on your shoulders.
All right, let's wrap this all up. If you take one thing away from this whole cautionary tale, it's about the constant battle between two things: substance and hype. And the key takeaway here is simple, but it's so powerful. Don't get swayed by the glossy slides and the big talk. They mean absolutely nothing without hard evidence to back them up. You have to insist on seeing the real substance behind all that style. It's your right, and frankly, it's your responsibility. So here's your final checklist to take with you. Always ask those tough how and why questions. Always demand data, not just some made-up scores. Do your homework, verify their credentials, check their references. And please, always choose genuine, relevant expertise over a long but totally generic resume. And that leaves us with one last really important question to think about. I want you to look at your own organization, at your own team. The next time a consultant walks in that door with a beautiful, amazing slide deck, is your team really truly equipped to see past all that hype?